lecture. Um, the first chapter in the previous lecture, we had started off with the first chapter, which is adaptations. And in the previous lesson, we had discussed about biomes. What are biomes? That their world regions. And we had discussed about the deciding factor of the biome, which is temperature. And we had discussed different biomes of the world: Mediterranean, desert, savanna, rainforest, mountain, and tundra. So I hope that you had listened to the lecture. So in this lecture, we are going to discuss about interactive biome. So let's get started. Biomes. Biomes are clear divisions visible from space. How do they work? Inside each biome, you will find different areas. For example, in the savanna biome, you will find ponds, lakes, rivers, areas of grass, and wooded areas. Each of these areas has a unique set of plants and animals that live there. These smaller regions in a biome are called ecosystems. So we had discussed in the previous lectures that biomes are different regions of the world. When you look from the space on the earth, you will find a lot of water, but some land is divided into different biomes, like deserts and other mountains and different regions of the world, different biomes. So um, now each biome has different uh, type of uh, type of uh, things in it. Like for example, there will be biomes where there's ponds, there like lakes, rivers, and areas of grass, and some wooden areas, just savanna biome. Um, and also there are some unique sets of plants and animals that reside there. And these smaller regions in a town are ecosystems. So ecosystem is a part of biome. Okay. Let's look at ecosystem. What an ecosystem is. You have previously studied about ecosystems in the previous class as well. Ecosystem, it is, and if you recall about ecosystem, then you must know that ecosystem are a combination or an amalgamation of biotic and abiotic factors. So small part of biome is where they're living things and non-living things, they interact and they live together and they produce food for each other, and and the interaction between the biotic and combination between of abiotic and biotic factors makes ecosystem. um it is hard to explain exactly what an ecosystem is, since each one is very different from any other. Even a pond in the savanna will be different from a pond in a coniferous forest. So pond will be pond in different biomes, but the pond structure and the pond, it will vary in some way. However, you can think of an ecosystem in terms of what they do. Each one has a set of mineral resources, the raw materials. It also has a set of producers. So every biome, every ecosystem, it has some basic things, like it must have mineral resources, it has raw materials, and it has a set of producers. Producers are basically plants. Plants are producers because producers are those organisms which produce food for other animals, other organisms. So plants are basically the primary producer, we can say, which produce food for other animals as well, and humans as well. These are living things that make food using the raw materials and energy from the sun. So here we are talking about the plants, which are producers. They are living things. Plants are living things, and they make food using the raw material and the energy from the sun. So plants, they use the process of photosynthesis to make their food using sunlight. Then there is a set of consumers which feed on the producers. So uh, things, the organisms that eat producer, or the feed on producers are called consumers, which consumes uh, the uh, food produced by the producers. Finally, there's a set of decomposers which eat that material and break it back down to raw material. So there are decomposers like bacteria. Um, they they when the consumer, they can, for example, if a tiger eats uh, deer, there will be some leftover, and the decomposer will feed on the dead material, and then material it will again become a raw material. So, basically ecosystems has producers, consumers, decomposers, mineral resources, and raw materials. Okay. Mineral resources are basically they are found in Earth's they on Earth's rocks, sands, soil, and they can be found on Earth's surface as well as underground as well. And inorganic substances, meaning that they do not come from an animal or plant, they will come from Earth. Some of the example of mineral resources are are gold, silver, copper, platinum, diamond, salt. These are mineral resources. Okay. So raw materials are basically those materials that need to be processed, or that are processed and manufactured into a new or useful material. Means they are raw. They need to be they need to go through a process to be used. These are raw materials. जैसे for example, wheat is a raw material. ठीक है, तो ये रॉ मटेरियल, सो ये सारी चीजें जो होती हैं वो इकोसिस्टम बनाती हैं। मिनरल्स जो मिनरल्स इकोसिस्टम्स जो मिनरल रिसोर्सेज, रॉ मटेरियल्स, प्रोड्यूसर्स, कंज्यूमर, डीकम्पोजर्स, ये सारी चीजें मिला के सिस्टम्स बनाती हैं। और मैंने आपको बता दिया मिनरल रिसोर्सेज कौन से होते हैं, रॉ मटेरियल्स कौन से होते हैं, प्रोड्यूसर, कंज्यूमर्स और डिकम्पोजर्स कौन से होते हैं। सो एन ecosystem is an interactive part of a biome. Living parts of the system constantly recycle the raw materials. Recycling links living things and the raw materials, so they all affect each other. If you change one part of the system, you can affect all the other parts. So now, as we have discussed, ecosystems, they have living part, and there is a cycle, and all the living factors and the non-living factors, they are dependent on each other. This is an interactive part of a biome, because all the in the living part of the system, they are constantly interacting with the non-living part of the system. So, for example, as you can see that when a plant, which is a producer, uh, any animal or any living organism, it feeds on the plant or a producer. So this plant, it is eaten by an animal. So then excretion, or the waste material that is produced by living organism is, or sometimes even when an organism is dead, when animal dies, then there are decomposers of bacteria, all these things, they decompose that material, and that decomposer, it becomes a raw material. And raw material, it is then again, it goes in the soil, it becomes a fertilizer, which is again used by the plants to grow. All these things are there dependent on each other. The growth of the plant is dependent on the living part of the system. So this is what it is written there. Ecosystem do not have sharp edges. So ecosystem is basically a part of biome. So they do not have sharp edges. The boundary between a forest and a grassland is not very clear. So you when there is a forest and a grassland, there's a small ecosystem, and you go to the other, then there won't be any clear boundary. There will be this small area with a few shrubs or young trees. But despite this, for the most part of the organisms living in the forest will be different from those living in the grassland. So there will be a we can see that there are in different ecosystem there are different animals that are the plants and animals they are different. So there are some animals which live in forest but they do not live in the grassland. There are some animals or organisms which live in the grassland but they do not live in the forest. So this is interactive biome. Basically, interactive biome means the ecosystem where the living things and the non-living things, how they interact with each other, they are dependent on each other. So this is an example. Recycling of raw materials essential as they cannot uh, be replaced. So because the raw materials they cannot be replaced, so they need to be recycled. Recycle means that they are used again. This cycle keeps on repeating. Like plant is eaten by an animal it gets decomposed by after dying or after excretion, and then decomposers they feed on the excreted and the the dead animal, and then those then it becomes a raw material, and the raw material is again used by the plants to make food or to produce food. So this is a cycle that keeps on repeating. That is why it is called interactive biome. So even if one factor of gets disturbed or it is missed out, then the whole system will get affected. So um, so this is all for today. एंड इसको अच्छे तरीके से समझें। और यहाँ पे जो क्वेश्चन हैं जैसे हमने पिछले मैंने लेक्चर में आपको कहा था कि आप लोग को इसको इसलिए आपने आंसर शीट पे लूज शीट पे या रफ नोटबुक्स पे क्वेश्चन आंसर्स को करना है। तो पहला क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे आपको गिवन है व्हाट आर द फोर मेन पार्ट्स ऑफ एन इकोसिस्टम। कौन कौन से फोर मेन पार्ट्स हैं जो यहाँ पे लिखे हुए हैं। मिनरल रिसोर्सेज, रॉ मटेरियल्स, प्रोड्यूसर, कंज्यूमर, डीकम्पोजर। इनमें से जो भी मेन पार्ट्स हैं उनमें आपको देख के लिखना है। एक्सप्लेन हाउ द रिसाइकलिंग सिस्टम वर्क्स। ये रिसाइकलिंग सिस्टम कैसे काम करता है, ये आप सारे बुक में इसको समझें और अपने ओन वर्ड्स में ट्राई टू राइट डाउन द आंसर इन योर ओन वर्ड्स, डू नॉट कॉपी पेस्ट इट। अंडरस्टैंड द paragraph, understand the lines, and answer in your own words, not copy. If there were no decomposers, why would the producers die out? Name three animals that might live in both woodland and grassland. So you can take help of the internet if you or any other library or anything. If you're not able to understand the questions, and if you are, I can also help you. You can message in the school WhatsApp group, and I'm going to address this problem. If you are having any trouble answering these questions. तो और अगर आपको कोई चीज़ समझ में नहीं आई है तो आप दोबारा से मुझे बता सकते हैं, मैं दोबारा भी आप लोगों को समझा दूंगी। So thank you. Allah Hafiz.